Hey y'all, so we've made some really great pieces this semester. I want to make sure that you're able to take some of that work and actually get it out into the real world. We're going to have opportunities with our work to present digitally, but we also will need to be able to present that in a printed form. So here I've created a moving postcard for my upcoming move. You can see I took some of the assets that we've created previously in the semester and put them onto this postcard front. I have a back as well, so front and back. You'll notice that I have a pretty wide bleed line right here, this outer line, and here anything that's outside of my actual artboard, we can expect to see that that will not print. So we want to make sure that these things that are falling off, we're okay with not seeing. But I also have them there because every printer is kind of different, and so you want to make sure that you give just a little bit of wiggle room to what's going on the printer. So having this extra color and these extra circles, having that space allows for the design to kind of be consistent. There won't be any gaps. There won't be any white spaces. We'll actually continue to see the design, whether or not the printer kind of misreads some of those measurements. So here I have this postcard. I've got my picture of Finley, I've got my text, I've got an invitation. I'm all ready for this to go to the printer. One of the first things we'll do, in order to make sure that the document is set up correctly for printing, is you'll want to go to Effect and select your Document Raster Effects settings. Now you'll remember the difference between a raster and a vector image is the raster is just like is the image. It's there. There's no line. There's nothing that can be manipulated. It is what it is. So this is kind of confirming we're ready to print. We're not going to change anything. I mean, you can always go back to your Illustrator file and change, but once you put this into your PDF, it's done. We've committed to it. We also want to make sure that our print settings are correct. So our color model depends on what we are going to do with it. So if we choose, this one says bitmap, or we would also say, what we want to do with our document tells us what's going to happen. We want to stick with CMYK because that's how printing actually works, is using those additive colors. We also want to make sure that we stick to a high resolution of 300 points per inch. So you'll notice that it says screen 72 points per inch. When you create something for the web, you want a really flat file, really low resolution. The image itself looks really crisp and clear, but the space that's taken up to present it on the website is much lower. You want to make sure that you keep your high resolution 300 points per inch because now we're talking about how many dots of ink are going into each inch of printing. So if you can imagine if you have 72 dots of ink per inch compared to 300, it's going to look a lot more like a game of Minecraft than an actual good image. So we've got CMYK and we've got 300 points per inch. We're ready to go. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to save. So right now I just saved. I saved my Illustrator file. But now I'm going to come in and I'm going to save my file as a PDF. So we'll come back into my Illustrator folder for the class. I'm going to come down to this format and I want to change this to an Adobe PDF. I've got everything here. I'm just going to click save and this dialog box is going to come up. So here it says, what is our preset? I actually want to bring this down, not from the default, but to press quality. Again, we're just trying to give the best print image possible. There are options here. We can view the PDF after we've saved it. You have other options, but right now we just really want to look at getting this printed. You will notice over here too, if you want to adjust your marks and bleeds, you can come over here and do that before you actually get to this point. So this is just a good place to note that you can adjust your marks and your bleeds this way. Alright, so I'm going to save my PDF. It's going to open it up for me. And so now I've got both sides of my postcard. And so you can see here where my circles are cut off. This looks great. So I can send this off. You know, at my work we have a print center. You'll find a lot of printing websites where you will be able to just upload that information now that you've got it as a PDF and not an Illustrator file. I recently reached out to the print center at my office and found out they don't print from Illustrator. I don't know if that's just their own rule. They choose not to, but they want a PDF, and I think that's a really important thing to remember, is that we work in the Illustrator file, but we're going to have to know how to present our information to printers and to clients in other formats. So on that note, I also wanted to share, I've printed this, or I've saved this as a PDF, but I also can go in, you'll notice, and save it as an Illustrator EPS. This is so that I can move it into InDesign later on. So let's say I really love this postcard, I've printed it, and then people start wanting to work with it. You know, they see it and they're like, oh, I really want you to design something for me. So I can take this EPS and dump it into Illustrator and actually work with it a little bit more using that program instead of sticking in Illustrator. So I'm just going to go ahead and save that here. Again, we have all of our options. We can choose our resolutions, things to pay attention to when you know, this isn't an InDesign class, but things to pay attention to are something like keeping your fonts, because although this isn't, you know, my computer, the font will travel with me, you want it in the document. So we'll go ahead and save it. And there you go. I hope that this is helpful, just to get your work out into the world, into the physical world, is a really exciting thing. I love seeing things come back on paper and just knowing I made that. I really enjoy being able to share things that way. So have a great day. Bye.